Okay, so today we're going to be doing lesson 2 and lesson 3. Always to try and get some days at the end of the year, or else we just finish and I go, okay, tomorrow's a diploma. We'll see you there. It's been a slice. I hope you do well. Catch you when you come out. Okay. So we either do a couple double lessons throughout the year, or we panic at the end. It's kind of like, let's suck it up now. Eat the Brussels sprouts now, and then chocolate cake at the end. Now, we're going to be learning the sum, difference, product, and quotient. I hope no one's texting in my class, unless they want to lose that for a long time. Now, the sum is f plus g of x equals f of x plus g of x. Okay, so those mean the same thing. And when you have f minus g of x, it's the same thing as f of x minus g of x. Okay, so just showing you that the two sides can be split up and they still mean the same thing. Okay, same thing when you have f minus g, or f over g times x, the same thing as f of x over g of x. Okay, and g of x cannot equal 0. Now, we're going to go through and we're going to do this question. It is nice if you have a ruler, and B, if you have different colors, pens or pencils. Another great thing to take into the diploma is lots of colors, a ruler, okay, and obviously your calculator, because there will be a lot of graphing to do. And the graphing you do isn't going to be for marks, but it's to get the right answer, right? And I guess the right answer is the one we're looking for. So anything we can do to help do that, the better. Now, what I'm first going to do is I'm going to graph f of x. So I'm going to do that in a red line. Now, you can tell f of x gives you all these points. Now, these are all lines, okay, for this one, and I'm just telling you that because I know that, but when you are doing lines, you actually just need to know 2 points, then you can draw your line. So I'm just going to look at the first one. Now, I'm just going to do this right now, okay? So -4, -7, -4, -7. And if we graph that, it would be right there. Okay, and then I'm going to look at the last point, which is 4, 9. So 4 and 9. Now let's do just a couple in the middle to make sure that is 0, 1. 0, 1 would be here, right? How about 2, 5? Okay, 2, 5 is here. So we can see that this is a nice line. So we're going to do kind of a nice red line. Oops. So I'll move that down here so it's a bit better. Okay, so that would be f of x. Okay, so let's write that right here, f of x. Now, let's do g of x. I'm going to do g of x in blue. Okay, so if we have, now that one also has -4, -7 as a point. Okay, what's another point? Let's do 0, -3, 0, -3. Okay, and let's do, this one is 4, 1. 4, 1 is right there. Okay, so you can see that this one is doing a line right here. Oops, that's not a very good one. Okay, so usually these lines are given to you just like they are, the blue and the red, and then you have to actually go find the points for f of x and g of x. So these ones are kind of nice because now let's call this one g of x. Okay, and I'm staying very deliberate with my colors here so you do not get these mixed up. Now we really haven't done any math yet. We just graphed f of x and g of x. But now we're going to graph f of x plus g of x, aka f plus g of x. Okay, same thing. So all you have to do is take f plus g. So I just want you to, so you just take f of x plus g of x and get that answer. So f of x plus g of x would be negative 14. Okay, let's do another point. Let's do 1, negative 3. So 1, negative 3 would be, actually I should be doing these in block. So 1, negative 3 is negative 2. I'm going to do these in block because I'm going to do a block line to show you that one, okay? Now, the last one, let's do that one. So I'm doing this. 9 plus 1 is 10. Okay? So, let's graph these points. Now, the point I'm going to graph here, just so you know, I'm going to graph 4, negative 4, negative 14. Okay, because negative 4 is still my x. It's the y that changes when you do this. So negative 4, negative 14 is way down here and is right there, right? Now, next one, I'm going to graph 0, negative 2. So 0, negative 2 is right there. Okay, and the last one is 4, comma 10. 4, comma 10. It's right there. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line now. That black line there is f f plus g of x, or f of x plus g of x, right? Same thing. Okay, now the last one I'm going to do I'll do it in green. Okay, so f minus g of x. So negative 7 minus negative 7 is 0. Okay, let's do the middle one. 1 and negative 3 is, or 1 minus negative 3, I should say, is 4. And 9 minus 1 is 8. Okay, so what point am I going to do? Negative 4, comma 0, right? And this one I'm going to put in 0, 4. And this one I will put in 4, 8. Okay, so let's just graph that. Negative 4, 0 is right there. Okay, 0, 4 is right here. And 4, 8 is right there. Okay, and then we just want to draw a green line. Okay, and that is f minus g of x. Okay. Now, as arduous as this is something that could be asked of you on a diploma. Here's f of x, here's g of x, draw the line. And you're like, well, you make that a multiple choice. You're going to have pictures? No, they'll say 3 points on this line are. You got A, B, C, D, and you find the one that has. So once you've drawn your line, then you go look which points are on there, okay? Now, I was kind of lazy not to do all the other points. Don't do what I just did, okay? Do them all to make sure, because they could make something weird like on your test on, or your quiz on Monday, okay? So the reason I'm just doing this is just for time. You should do all of them when you're doing them. Okay? So now I've done, how do you, sorry? All I did was take f of x and subtract g of x from them. Because this is, if you look up here, this is f of x minus g of x. This is what this means. So I took f of x minus g of x. So negative 7 minus negative 7 is 0. Okay. Now, they were nice enough after to give us what the equations were. You don't need the equations to draw the lines. That's what I just showed you. But if you do know the equations of f of x and g of x, write the expressions for f plus g of x. Now that is, so f plus g of x equals 2x plus 1 plus x minus 3. So this stuff is quite intuitive, actually. Most people would have figured this out, that if we're taking f of x plus g of x, well, can I just take those two equations and add them together? Yeah, you do. So 2x plus x is 3x, and 1 and negative 3 is negative 2. Okay. Now it also asks for f minus g of x. Okay, so what am I going to do there? I'm going to go 2x plus 1 minus x minus 3. Now do you see I'm very deliberate in putting both in brackets? Now again, I'm not teaching you how to get 50% of the diploma, okay, or 80% of the diploma. I'm trying to get you to do 100% of the diploma. I have gone over enough diplomas in my time to know where students make their mistakes. And this would be this would be one of the places that most students throw away a question, because they don't put the brackets. So you can see how that negative sign doesn't go to both the numbers. All right? Now, when we're adding, that's not going to mess you up. But I don't want to, when you're adding, don't put brackets. Don't worry about it. But when you're subtracting, put brackets. How about we just always put brackets? Okay? Less for you to know. Okay? So then this is 2x plus 1 minus x plus 3. Now, do you notice I didn't do that step on the last one? Because it's 2x plus x and 1 plus negative 3. People don't mess up addition, but they do subtraction. So I actually am going to take time to do this step, because if I do it in my head, I get to the wrong answer a lot quicker. Okay? And again, you'll get through your diploma quicker. That's awesome. Okay? Because that's what they care about. They want to know your time. You write your time down and you get little stickers sent in the mail for what time you finished. No, you don't. Okay? They don't care. And you'll see on the math diploma, probably 90% of the students stay for the whole 3 hours. And then they all come out of the atrium together, and then they talk about it. And that person that came out first, that was half an hour, 3/4 away, you know, they came out, they just get to find out all the things they did wrong, and they could have checked it over and actually found those mistakes. Okay? Those people that get out early, they don't even go home. They wait for all the other people coming out of the diploma. So if you're going to wait, why don't you just sit in and do your test? Like, it doesn't make sense. And then all you hear is, oh, man, I knew that. I didn't check that over. I didn't do that one using the calculator. That's all you find out. So if you get out early, all you're going to do is listen to all the mistakes you could have fixed. And it's very different than if you spend the whole 3 hours in there and you come out and you made a mistake. You're like, well, there's no more I could have done. Like, my time is up. It's a different feeling. Both of you got one wrong, but one of you, it's like it was out of my hands. But if you left half an hour early, I think you threw that one away. So when you have 2x minus x, it is x. And when you have 1 plus 3, it is 4. So your final, that's f of x minus g of x. That's f of x plus g of x. Now state the domain and ranges. Of those two new lines that I did, what was the domain? X was in the reals, and so was y. Okay? Now, when you have f plus g of 10, the nice thing is, you've already figured out what f of g of x is, so all you have to do is take your 10 and put it in there. So we just have to go 3 times 10 minus 2. 30 minus 2, big 28. F minus g of negative 10, I'm just going to take negative 10 and put it in there. That is negative 10 plus 4 equals negative 6. Now, the question, here's a diploma question. I'm going to put this in brackets actually up here. H. In this example, the sum and difference of two functions of 1 degree are also functions of 1 degree. Do you notice over here that these were all straight lines? So they must have all been of degree 1, right? And if you look, do you see how when we took the 2, so I'm up here right now, if I take this plus this, see it? That's 1 degree, that's 1 degree, I get an answer with 1 degree. This one has 1 degree, that one has 1 degree, I get an answer of 1 degree. So the question is, if you have two functions of 1 degree whose sum or difference is not of degree 1, can you get this? Is it possible to have two equations of 1 degree not produce an answer of 1 degree? Is it possible? Yeah? How? Then you add them together, you're going to get rid of your x's, right? Yeah. Good. Okay. So 99.9% of the time, 1 degree minus 1 degree is going to be 1 degree. 1 degree plus 1 degree will be 1 degree. But what if we had this example? So f of x equals, say, 3x plus 6, and g of x equals 3x plus 4. And I go, do f of x minus g of x. Well, that's 3x plus 6 minus 3x plus 4. You see the answer we're going to get is, what would it be? 2. Does that have degree 1? No. This is degree 0. Okay. So let's just do a couple of these. Here's f of x, here's g of x. Determine the expressions for f of x plus g of x. Now, if you look at these two, they look like they're the same equation, but they're not, okay? Okay, so they're not the same. And actually, the diploma would never do that, something that mean, because Okay, so anyway, f of x minus or plus g of x would be x cubed minus 2x squared plus 6, put that in brackets, plus x cubed minus 2x squared plus 6. No, not 2x squared, 2x plus 6. Okay, so now I have x cubed plus x cubed is 2x cubed. Minus 2x squared, he's got no one to play with. Minus 2x, he doesn't either. And 6 plus 6 is 12. That's f of x plus g of x. Now the next one, if I have x cubed minus 2x squared plus 6, put that in brackets, minus x cubed minus 2x plus 6. Okay, let's take the time to actually do the next line. That would be minus x cubed plus 2x minus 6, right? Now you can do your x cubed minus x cubed. Done. So it would be, negative 2x squared plus 2x and 6 minus 6. Done. Okay, so when I add them together, I get this. When I subtract them, I get that. Okay. Now, don't worry about this. Now, evaluate this if f plus g is negative 2, or f of g of x is negative 2. So all you do is you substitute negative 2 into where you had an x before. Now always substitute in brackets or you will get this one wrong too. That negative 2 squared, because this is supposed to be 2 times negative 8 minus 2 times, that's going to be a positive 4 minus, or that's going to be actually plus 4 plus 12. Anyway, when you add that all up, you get negative 8. Okay, so all I did was I took negative 2, I put it into here, here, I'll do this in black, put it in there, 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 and got this. Okay, now I'm going to take root 6 and put it in there and there with brackets. So that's negative 2, and then I'm bracket root 6 squared plus 2 times root 6. Okay, root 6 squared is 6. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12 plus 2 root 6. Okay, does this make sense? Okay, just in case you were understanding this, let's do a word problem to really mess with your head. Because word problems straighten everything out, right? Now, so you have a multimedia production company and you produce DVDs, which cost you to make them $3 per unit. Okay? The fixed costs, including graphics, are $10,000 irrespective of the number of DVDs you produce. Okay? So that's your setup cost. Okay? Setup costs are usually quite heavy. If you were to make 12 t-shirts, because you want to do 12 t-shirts for your team or whatever, they give you a setup cost because there's graphics to do. They got to get it all on the computer. They've got to make, especially if you're silk screening, we have to get all the silk screening ready. We've got to do all this preparation, and it takes us 6 hours to do this. So they may charge you $200 plus $10 a shirt. Now you can see where that $200, wow, that's going to make it kind of expensive, right? That's going to be like 35 bucks a shirt if we just get 12 of us. But if you get 20, then you get it down to like $20 a shirt. And then if you get 30 people, because the more people you get, they divvy up that introduction cost or that setup cost, right? So the thing here is you got $10,000 plus $3 a CD. That is your actual cost. So we would write this as a function C, oops, it's supposed to be a bracket, C of X equals $10,000 plus 15X. Now that means the cost to produce an X amount is $10,000 plus, what am I talking about? 3X. Plus 3X, okay? So it's $10,000 plus $3 per DVD. Now, how much, if I sell them now, do I make per DVD? So my revenue is of X equals 15X. Now these two compete against each other because revenue is the money you're making, but cost is what's taken away from that. Okay? So if you were, delivering a pizza, okay, and say you were making the pizzas at home, you got to think about, well, I got to make the pizza, I got to heat up the pizza, and I got to drive the pizza to that place. I better make sure I cover my costs. That's what that's called. Plus, you got to make some profit. Okay? So profit then, P of X, would be 15X, which is the good stuff, minus all of the bad stuff. Okay. So now, if I produced 20,000 DVDs, what would be the company's profit? Now, this should be I produced and sold, right? Because obviously you're making no profit if you didn't sell anything, right? So that sentence, because if 20,000 DVDs are just produced, you're not making any money. You've just spent a lot of money. You got this big warehouse full of stuff you can't sell. Okay? Now, all you have to do is put it into your... Now, there's two ways we could do this. We could put this right, we could put 20,000 right into here, or we can make the profit equation, which is P of X equals 15X minus 10,000 plus 3, or minus 3X, right? I almost made my same mistake I'm always preaching never to do. And so P of X would equal 12X minus 10,000. Now you can put your P of 20,000 equals 12 times 20,000 minus 10,000. And that would give you $230,000 in your pocket. Okay, so we're going on to the next one, but you're doing 1 to 4 and 7 to 9 in this one. Okay, let's go to Unit 3. Okay. Now, this one here, we're going to be looking at multiplication. F G of X, which, remember, if you look back, this is the same thing as F of X times G of X. Okay, that means the same thing. Now, usually you don't have this nice little chart set up for you. You have to make your own chart and actually find your own points. But you see at -4 right here, F of X is -7 and G of X is -7. So what is F of G of X? 49, right? Now, unfortunately, -4, 49 is not on this graph. It's way, way, way up there. So we can't plot that point. Now, -3, F of X is -5. You can even check it out, right? Here I am at -5. That's F of X. And G of X is at -6, right? So f times g of x would be at 30. And I can't even really plot 30 on there yet. Okay, the next one, all I'm doing is multiplying these together now, okay? Negative 3 times negative 5 is 15, okay? So I can plot this one. Negative 2, comma, 15. So negative 2, 15 is right there. Okay, next point is 4. So negative 1, 4. Next one is negative 3. So 0, negative 3. Next one is negative 6. 1, negative 6. Right there. Next one, 2, negative 5. Right there. And the next one, 3, 0. 3, 0. And 4, 9. Okay, and you can see from this, and most times two lines will do this, when you multiply them, you get a parabola. A parabola. Okay. Now, they tell us that f of x is 2x plus 1, and g of x is x minus 3. So what is f of x times g of x? Well, let's figure that out. F of g of x equals 2x plus 1 times x minus 3. We're going to FOIL it. Okay, that is 2x squared minus 6x plus 1x minus 3, which goes to, because I can get those two middle terms together, 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. Now do you see why it produced a parabola? Because it has a degree 2. Okay? So do you see how often if you take a line times a line, you will get a parabola because it's an x times an x makes an x squared. These are things you really have to know for the diploma, right? This is where they're going to get you. Now, by looking at this graph, what would you say is the, well, D says to graph it, f times g of x, and you will get that graph. Okay? Now it says determine the domain and range. Now what's the domain? X is in the reals, right? What would be the range? Y is greater than or equal to negative 6, okay? And then I want you to go like this, because that's wrong. Why is it wrong? It's right there on our graph. We don't know that's the minimum. We just did our little plot, right? And I purposely wanted to go through this one so you don't do it on the diploma, okay? Graph it and find your minimum. Okay, so yell it out as soon as you get it. In fraction. Yeah, once you get x, well, you can take your y. Yeah, it's too bad it doesn't do the y, but. So we want to find min using calc. I'd be willing to bet you they will do something like this to you in the diploma, and they will say range x is greater or equal to negative 6. You're like, yeah, that's it. I can see it right on the graph. Negative 49 over 8, which is what in decimal? Negative 6.125, right? So they're seeing, are you actually graphing it? So you find the minimum using your, and you get, so your range is actually y is greater or equal to negative 49 over 8. Now the students who do well at the diploma write these little things down on their study sheet and actually heed this advice. So is it any harder to get the right answer? No, but you have to know how to think. And we all get caught on those, okay? Present company included. So, you know, It's just how many times do you have to get caught on before you actually do it, right? Okay, so what's fg of 8? All we have to do now is, because we've done all the work, we just have to plug 8 into here. So that's going to be 2 times 8 squared minus 5 times 8 minus 3. Okay, and you will get 85. Now it says do it 2 ways. Okay, so there's another way I could do it. I could have done it like this. 2 times 8 plus 1, because this is f of x, right? And I'm going to go times g of x. So I'm actually going back to the original here before I even started, because I can actually put 8 into here and here if I want to, right from the beginning. So that's 2 times 8 plus 1 times 8 minus 3. And you will get 85 as well. So there's 2 ways you can always do it. And believe me, I would be doing both of them if it was a diploma. See, I'm done my diploma. I look up at the clock. Oh, I have a half an hour left. You can check these quite easily. You can also graph, f of x times g of x, and you can graph your other one. They'll land on top of each other. Believe me, my students that get 100 on this diploma, they stay to the end. They're not the cocky ones that leave after like 2 hours, right? You're kicking them out of the gym, okay? And that's what you should be for a diploma, because some people, be it they're getting into nursing or whatever, to have a nice mark in their math one really ups their average, right? And like nursing's very competitive. So if you get 1% more than the person beside you, and that's where the cutoff is, they're not taking it, you are, okay? And unfortunately, 2 more questions on the diploma is 1 more % in the course, right? So, or actually, no, 1 question right in the diploma would be 1 more in the course. So this says, in the investigation, the product of 2 functions, their straight lines, was a quadratic function. Okay? Now, is it possible to have 2 functions whose graphs are straight lines, which you wouldn't get a quadratic? Okay? And here's a very good example. If you had f of x equals 5, okay, that is a straight line. And what if I multiply that by f of x? I'm going to put multiply because I got too many x's there. Multiply f of x, or g of x, I guess. I wouldn't have 2 f of x's. G of x equals x. Yeah, just so you know, that looks like this, right? Both straight lines. But then you'd go 5 times x. You would only get 5x. Now that's not a quadratic. That wouldn't give you a problem. Okay? So 99.9% of the times, a straight line times a straight line will give you a quadratic. But there's one case where it doesn't. Okay? Let's just finish off with just doing a couple of these so you know how they work. Okay, so if I have f of g, f minus g of x, so that would be 3 root x minus 2 minus root x minus 5. Now again, with that minus sign, take the time to do the 1 more step. So that would be 3 root x minus 2 minus root x plus 5. All I did was multiply the root x in, okay? So 3 root x minus, and there's a 1 here, imaginary 1 there. 3 root x minus 1 root x is 2 root x. And negative 2 plus 5 is positive 3. Okay, and then they say evaluate it. Do f minus g equals 16. Well, all I have to do is plug my 16 in there. That's 2 times root 16 plus 3. Root 16 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. Okay, let's do f minus g of x. So that is 3 root x minus 2 times root x minus 5. Okay, now remember, we are foiling. So I'm going to do these two first. 3 root x times root x is 3x. And 3 root x times negative 5 is negative 15 root x. And then I'm going to do to these two inner ones. Negative 2 times root x is negative 2 root x. And negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10. My final answer is 3x. I can get those two middle terms together because they're both root x's. So negative 15 root x minus 2 root x is negative 17 root x plus 10. Now all I'm going to do is put 49s in there with brackets. 3 times 49 minus 17 times root 49 plus 10. That works out to be 38. We're doing 1 to 6. Omit